this is my first intro video for Shawna-vision. I'm sorry for the low quality video. This is shot on my iPhone, so maybe eventually I'll get something a little less amateur. Okay, so I'll get straight to it. My goal is to share my life experiences living with rheumatoid arthritis and everything that entails. I plan on sharing emotional, psychological coping strategies and diet and lifestyle changes that have made the most difference in my life and have significantly reduced my pain. And if you're like me, you probably have spent countless hours researching everything and anything you can that'll make your life easier. Recipes, diets, supplements, anything that'll reduce pain and fatigue. And my hope is that my videos will give you a shortcut in some way or another. And I am aware that everyone is different and what works for someone may not work for someone else. But at the very least, I want to give you some ideas that you can try for yourself. And I believe I found the most effective tools for rheumatoid arthritis, and I believe that this will help almost everyone, but the logistics just might look slightly different for each of you. And I don't want to give the impression that these videos are only for people with rheumatoid arthritis. I believe a lot of the info I'll be sharing is good for anyone with an autoimmune disease, or if you're searching out help for whatever illness you're dealing with. The beauty of suffering is that there's purpose in it, and I've been able to help others because of my disease. And I love people, and I want to give hope to people that suffer. So yeah, I really hope that you guys will get something really valuable out of my videos. So I'm going to share my story, and I'll try and keep it short and to the point. I'm 29. I've had rheumatoid arthritis for 15 years now. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis when I was about 15 years old. I was in extreme amounts of pain, and I was told if I didn't take methotrexate that I would be a cripple by the time I was 30 years old. That stuck with me, and I was terrified. But I didn't rush into anything, and my mom wanted to try other things first before resorting to immune suppressants. There was a lot of really difficult things that happened in my life around that time. My dad got cancer, and my brother-in-law died, and personally, I believe that emotional trauma I faced was a contributing factor to me becoming ill. I was extremely depressed and fearful of my future, and I was in so much pain that I couldn't dress myself some days. I couldn't sleep for nights on end. I began drinking and smoking to cope with the extreme anxiety and physical pain I was dealing with. And over time, I realized that those things actually made my pain way worse. So fast forward many years of intense pain. I grew up and matured. I started to see a correlation between what I ate and drank and my pain level. And it became really clear that if I drank alcohol, if I smoked, I was in a lot more pain. And the same was true with food. Coffee, wheat, potatoes, those were some of the worst. My mom, bless her heart, she took so much time researching and had heard of the paleo diet. And apparently it helped a lot of people with autoimmune diseases. So she urged me to try it, and I did for a while, and I noticed a difference. But being a teenager, I would always kind of slip back into eating things I shouldn't. I knew I shouldn't again, because at the time I was using food as a way to cope with my stress. So it never really lasted long. And I tried so many other things, like I can't even remember everything. But the point is, nothing really made much of a difference in my quality of life other than changing my diet. So over time, I began to get better at sticking to the diet, but the real change didn't happen until I got professional CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy counseling. And I actually didn't initially go to get help with sticking to the diet. I went because I was completely hopeless and depressed, and I was thinking of ways to kill myself. So between my dad's death at the time, my addictions, my failing marriage, my rheumatoid arthritis, everything combined, I was just like a mess, and I was falling apart, and my RA took a lot of my dreams from me, and I was in constant pain. And the main thing was I lost hope. And I can see very clearly now that when I lost hope, I began to die in every way, spiritually, mentally, and physically. The mind is so powerful, you know, hope keeps us alive and thriving. And when we lose that, we lose ourselves and the essence of who we are. And I had lost myself to fear, and I was terrified of what was going to happen to me. So I worked really hard for 5 years, going to counseling and facing those fears and regaining hope. And I'm able to live more in the present now instead of being locked into worries of the future. And I'd like to go into more detail about that process and tools I used and continue to use today in another video. So the ability to stick to a strict diet came after I dealt with a lot of the other crap that was like going on in my head and fears. And at the risk of sounding like a pompous ass, I'm now a really disciplined person when it comes to diet. And of course it makes it slightly easier when you eat something you shouldn't and you have extreme pain. So after a while you start to associate those foods with pain. But anyway, I stuck to the paleo diet and it helped. But it wasn't as much as people said it would. I would hear about people doing the paleo diet and going into like complete remission. But for me, it reduced my pain by about 50%, and it helped a bit with my fatigue. So I stuck to it because it helped. And at that time, I would do anything just to feel even a tiny bit better. So, yeah. Then, 3 years ago, I found out about functional medicine through a DVD my mom bought me called Betrayal. At the time I was like, oh Mom, it's a scheme, like don't buy it. I'm so glad she did, even if it was kind of a scheme. But I believe you can look it up on YouTube. I encourage you to look up Betrayal on YouTube. It's a documentary about functional medicine and them helping people with autoimmune conditions. So that was a game changer. I found a practitioner in Bellingham, Washington, and he told me to read the Elimination Diet book and to begin the diet. So I read it and I began the diet. I'd highly recommend reading it and applying it if you haven't already. It enables you to figure out what foods are not agreeing with you and causing inflammation and pain and many other symptoms. And it took me like a full year to test every food, but I made it, and now I have like very low pain. And there's a cost. I can only eat low carb vegetables, meats, fruits, seeds, and olive oils. Pretty much everything else inflames me, unfortunately, but it's worth it to me. When you're in so much pain and you find something that finally you're not in pain, but you have to work really hard to do it, you work really hard to do it. At least I have. I've found it's been worth being very limited. I'm on a lot of supplements that have helped a lot as well. I can go over those in another video if there's interest. Not that you should copy what I'm doing. You should get testing done to see what your body needs supplement-wise, and go to a functional medicine practitioner. I did a bunch of blood tests, urine, stool, everything to figure out what my body was needing, what my body was lacking, and once I found those things out, and I started supplementing those things, I've noticed a big change. So I highly recommend that. I'm so incredibly grateful that I have the ability to control most of my pain. And I still have days and times where I have a flare and it's out of nowhere, and you can only control so much. You know, and unfortunately it hasn't taken the tiredness and all the fatigue and brain fog away. I'm still trying to find a solution for that. So if you guys, anything has helped you guys, maybe you can let me know. That would be great. You know, it limits me a lot. And I also have rheumatoid arthritis nodules as well on the bottom of my feet and my elbow, and I've had them on my fingers, I've had them removed. Yeah, the ones on the bottom of my feet are extremely painful, and those will need to be cut out again sometime soon. But the point is, things are much better than what they used to be. And currently, I'm trying a new drug called LDN, low dose naltrexone. If you haven't heard of it, I recommend looking it up and doing some research on it. Really interesting. Naltrexone was used for people with opioid addictions. Well, still used for that. It's an opioid blocker. But at a really, really low dose, it's being used for people with chronic pain conditions and autoimmune diseases. It is a anti-inflammatory, and it modulates the immune system, and it also is, it reduces pain. So I've been having great success and wish doctors knew more about it so they could help more people. They don't know about it because it's not patentable, so they won't make any money on it. So no money, not a lot of research gets done. There has been research done, but not to the extent that most drugs have. With diet, the supplements, and the LDN combined, I feel quite good. I'll be making a separate video on LDN soon, where I can go into more details. I'm only about 2 months into this medication, and I'm already seeing a huge difference. I'm seeing pain reduction, inflammation reduction. I seem to be able to have a small amount of foods that before I couldn't tolerate, like root vegetables and nuts. Also, I've been having less food cravings. My period this month was, for the first time, I didn't have tender breasts. I didn't have any bloating. I had less severe period cramping, which for me is like amazing. I wasn't expecting that, but definitely an added bonus. So that's been really amazing. I was in extreme physical pain and emotional pain for like 10 years, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. It's torture. I see all those posts on the RA group and autoimmune pages on Facebook, And it really breaks my heart to see the amount of people suffering with these diseases. I really hope that my videos can help in some way. Life can be so much suffering, and yet so much joy too. Sorry, getting a bit emotional there. I just really know how it feels to be in pain and be struggling every single day and not getting a break. And now being at a place where I can say, you know, I still struggle every day, but definitely not to the extent that I was. I just want everyone to have that. And I do believe that we can be standing in a literal shit pile, but be able to keep our eyes up and see the sunshine and the people that are precious to us. And we don't have control over everything. And that's when the best we can do is focus on the light and what we do have. And that's not always easy to do. Well, it's never easy to do. But I have learned that I can have both suffering and joy simultaneously. And I want that for you. So, I hope that my story can give you hope and also serve as a platform for my videos to come, so you can understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. This isn't easy for me. I don't find it easy talking in front of a camera, alone in my living room, and yeah, it's just not easy. You know, having to go through all this stuff, and it takes time and energy, and I don't have a lot of energy, but I do have a lot of time. So I'll share more in depth about my supplements, the LDN drug I'm taking, the elimination diet in videos to come, and I'm excited to share my favorite recipes, what I eat in a day, food products that make my diet more interesting and tasty, and hopefully some valuable life lessons that I've taken from living with a chronic illness. And I do want to do some fun videos too. Well, not that, you know, those won't be fun, but a little less serious, I guess. I'd like to do a dreadlock video. Lots of people have a lot of questions about my hair, and maybe a questions and answers video about that, or any other topics that I'll be doing, especially food-based. Yeah. So anyway, thank you, and feel free to ask any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Till next time.